All right.
All right, welcome Pdub fans, Pdub Nation. I've got a special guest on for you today. This is the second podcast of the day. We're tapping in with Gdog Sports of Twitter. And so we're real excited about this podcast. This is going to be an interesting podcast. We're going to focus on mainly sports betting in this one. But Gdog has an interesting style that I think that you guys definitely want to hear about. And so it's definitely different than my style. But this is a proven style that's made him a lot of money. And you guys are definitely going to want to hear about it. So I'm excited for you guys to tap in today with Gdog. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set it up. We're going to let Gdog introduce himself briefly. Let us, where he came from, how he started sports betting, things like that, real briefly. And then we're going to get into the absolute details of why you potentially could follow Gdog and his strategy. So Gdog, welcome to the show, man. Happy to have you here.
Hey, thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me, man.
No worries, buddy. So give us a little intro about who you are, where you came from, why you're betting, or why you're successful in the betting space, and then we'll go from there.
My name's Greg. I'm originally from Minnesota. Spent the last 30 years in San Diego. Got into sports betting primarily because my dad was actually running numbers at his factory when I was a kid. I tracked all of his stats one year for summer for baseball. I ended up using that money to buy a bike that I had my eye on. And then right out of college, being in San Diego, I used to go down to TJ, place bets on the weekends for football, college, and pro. And then once online started happening, I just started doing that more regularly. And then that's pretty much it.
I like that. TJ. I mean, I might have tapped into TJ when I was a kid, once or twice and placed a few bets myself. So I like it. So it's very, very interesting. So I'm a standard unit guy, 1 to 10 units, half a unit to 1% of my bankroll per unit. And so we play a limited amount of games on my team. Yesterday we went 5-0. We played 5 games, obviously. Today we're looking at 4, potentially 5. And so that's the high. 2 to 5 for me is typical. And so Gdog has a completely different strategy for his personal betting style. So kind of talk about, what you do, the volume of your games and why you do what you do and how you're able to do it in the way that you do.
Okay. So I'm a flat better. I don't like parlays. I don't really play parlays. I'm also probably around 1 to 3% of my bankroll, but I don't slide my units. So I don't like put 2 units on one game and put another, maybe 1 on this game and 3 on that game. I'm just a flat better. So I go off of percentages, and hitting around 56% or so, you can just, as much as you can, get in many as bets as you can. So instead of trying to cherry pick and get like 3 or 4 or 5 plays, there's days in college basketball season where I had nearly 100 plays, probably like 70, 80 on average on a daily basis between college, pro, and hockey. And then right now it's a little slower as well because you don't have the college basketball volume that you normally have.
So tell the people, how you're able to bet 100 games in a day. Like, I mean, I'm assuming it's data. I'm assuming it's a system that's spitting out results. But walk us through that process if you're able to bet 100 games in one individual day.
So basically, in order to do that, you have to be organized, obviously. So I can't just put them all in at once. I try to do it in groups because line movements and changes and things like that. So especially with COVID, different things that might impact the game. So let's say a bunch of games start at 11 o'clock Eastern, then I'll work on those first. And then there'll be like 5 or 6 contests. And then another slate might start at like 12 o'clock or 12:30 or 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So I try to put it in groups so that I'm like very systematic about it. And then I obviously keep detailed results, my spreadsheets, things like that, track my results, know my percentages. And when I'm at a certain winning percentage, you just try to get as many as you can. So it doesn't matter if it takes me, if I was doing 3 bets a day, it might take me 10 days to place 30 bets at a 56% percentage. But if I have my filters and everything, I have multiple games that fit those filters on a daily basis, then I just try to get as many in as I can. So
no, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I can't disagree with what you do. Um, I just don't have the systems to go off of like you do. Now I use systems, but it definitely, so what it, my system, mine differs a little bit than yours is my systems shrink the board so I can focus on,
Yeah.
less than 10 games per day. And then I cap those games individually to produce a strong percentage. And you have a system that spits out multiple games per day that obviously is systematic and that you're able to just trust your system, right?
Right.
I would
Yeah.
imagine,
Yeah.
without deep diving into every single game, because otherwise, diving into 100 games, you'd be in front of the computer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And
Yeah.
so,
It's pure math, basically.
right. I,
You
don't, I
know.
like it. I mean, that's interesting. But so for your paying clients, though, is it different
Yeah.
from the way you personally bet to what you're advising them to do? And walk us through that.
Yeah. In order to do volume betting, you have to have a good sized bankroll, obviously. Most people just recreationally are putting $25, $50, $100 on a game. Some people that are a little more have a little more ability with their finances or what have you, depending on your level of clientele, might have several $1,000s to place on a game, obviously. But I've found, being on Twitter and Instagram, some of the smaller places, a lot of people are just recreational bettors or maybe just getting into it. So they're not risking a lot. They work full time. This is their extra money. They want to make a side income or whatever. So keeping that in mind, usually there's a few games that stand out on the board to me that have like the best. When I run things through like an NBA formula, for instance, I can see that team has better setups for, let's say, their home and they have all their players and they're in a certain spot. There's certain instinctual things that you pick up on too. It's not pure numbers all the time, but you have to understand situations, home and home, back to backs, rest days for certain players. It's just really tough this year with the NBA because of COVID and rest, and they had that season right away back to back from last year. They usually have a lot more time off, so now you're straight into another full season. Obviously, LeBron's been hurt recently, came back last night, missed the most games ever in his career, but it's just like they start getting tired, obviously, at this point. So you have to pace these guys out.
And
It
it's
makes
been
it very
frustrating.
challenging.
It's been a harder year than most in the NBA for the fact that the injuries reports come out so late, the final injury reports.
Yeah.
So you cap a game, right? You're ready to roll.
Yep.
Like tonight, we're going to be breaking down a little bit in this Clippers Nuggets game, and we got Kawhi, right? He's questionable.
Yeah.
And so I have my own personal feeling that Kawhi will play tonight, but it doesn't mean that he will. And so if I send the Clippers out to the game at -6, what we're currently looking at, it's opened at 4.5 and has
Yeah.
moved to 6, and now it pops down to 2. My closing
Yeah.
line value is obviously gone, and my
Yep.
team is in a very, very difficult spot. And
Right.
so I wait till the very last moment, although it is challenging for some people that bet at the window,
Yeah.
obviously, to get that done. Most people
Yeah.
can bet online, right? But there's a few of my clients that do bet at the window and that have asked me, hey, can you send me the games earlier? No, I really can't. Because if I'm
Yeah.
betting my own money on it, right? And I'm not,
Yeah.
why would I send you a game if I'm not 100% certain that I'm going to put my own
Right.
money on that
Exactly.
game? Why would I send you that game? So
Well, there's
it
a
is
lot of
what it
cappers
is.
out there, Scott, as you well know, that just put out games without consequence.
I know.
They
It's
hide
crazy.
behind the screen, their avatar or whatever, and they put out multiple games and they don't bet on them themselves. They have no skin in the game. If
And
some
while we're on that
clients lose,
topic,
they lose. So
right. And while we're on that topic, I got a lot of respect for you. You come on here, right? You show your face. Um, that is a lost art in our game these days. There's probably 1% of the cappers on social media will actually have the balls to come on here and do something
yeah,
like this and have a conversation because we're live. And,
yeah,
there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I mean, if you're stumbling on your words and you don't know what you're talking about, you're caught red-handed. So I appreciate you coming on here, and I got a lot of respect for you. And Gdog's going to be, just for you guys out there, he's going to be a regular on the show. We'll probably tap in with Gdog once a week and break down a single game. And so I do appreciate you supporting the show and kind of just helping out Pdub and growing my
appreciate
brand,
it.
your brand, and the support. So appreciate that. Hey, so let's take a look at this is kind of the final segment of our show today. We're going to take a look at the Clippers Nuggets game today. This is actually my free play of the day, which I will not give you my pick again because I need to wait till the final injury reports, but we're going to break it down a little bit and we're going to get a little insight from Gdog on what he does to break down the game. So we're going to pull up a little bit, some odds and take a look at a few different things as we break down the game. So I believe you can see your screen, Gdog, and
Yeah.
we got the VSiN odds up. So tell me what you're looking at here, and kind of let's start there with the odds.
All right. So you have the opening line, Denver at the Clippers, 223.5 at the total, 4.5 at home spread. And then throughout the course of the day at different outlets, it's worked its way up to -6, and the totals come down though. So then you have the consensus is about 221.5 across town and -6 for the actual spread. So when I ran this through my numbers that I usually do, I have it pretty much as a pick 'em, even though the Clippers are at home. There's not a whole lot of home court advantage this season, obviously, and other seasons as well. Like last year when there's COVID and there's no fans. I know there's some fans now, and it makes a difference. But when I calculate their points per game average, how many points are given up on the road, how many points they're scoring at home, those types of statistics is what I usually kind of consider. And then obviously the injury factor. In this particular game, the series is tied 1-1. Clippers are coming off a loss. Nuggets have won 4 straight and 8 of the last 10. So there's seed positioning for the playoffs factoring in here as well. So as far as matchups go, they match up pretty well. Like you're saying, Scott, the Kawhi is questionable. Obviously, that's just gamesmanship, I believe, because there's nothing that would keep him from playing this game with the playoff seeding on the line at this point in the season.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question on that topic. So we see the total drop from an opening line of 223.5 to 221, right? And so initial thoughts when you look at the total would be like, oh, Kawhi's probably not playing, right? That could be why the total is decreasing. But then you see the actual Clippers line, go from -4.5 to -6. So what's your take on the actual opposite movement between the spread and the total there with Kawhi playing or not? What does that kind of do for you? What does it push you one way or the other in terms of Kawhi?
Well, with the spread moving the way that it is, it leads us to believe that Kawhi is going to be in the game playing for sure. And the fact that it's coming down is Kawhi's defense is also factored in now. So that's where those extra points, I believe, in this particular case are coming into play. It's because if he's in the game, he's going to obviously increase their abilities to score more points, but he's also going to lock down on defense which will shave a point or two off the total, it looks like in this case.
So I like that mentality.
They want.
No, I like that mentality. We lost your screen there for a second.
Sorry.
But I do like that mentality. I think the novice better would think that the total would rise if Kawhi would play, and you're looking at his great defensive play to actually reduce the total. But I think most people would think that the total would rise with Kawhi playing just due to his offense, right? And adding that piece of the puzzle for the Clippers, that's so key. So interesting take there. I like that a lot. So what other key pieces are we looking at in tonight's game for you? Anything else?
Well, over the last 4 games, Denver's outscored the Clippers 121 average to the Clippers are averaging 107 a game. So they're obviously putting up a lot of offense, even without Jamal Murray, because those are like the most 4 recent games. So I have a total right now of around 205 to a max of around 225. So it falls right in that range. And with Kawhi playing, they're giving up at home, the Clippers 108 points, and the Nuggets are scoring 113. So something's got to give, obviously. So that puts it right around that 221 to 222 range, which in this case for me would probably be a pass. As far as the spread goes, that's more of an even matchup. And with everybody at full strength, I think the Nuggets have a chance of obviously covering that spread at home. And as far as the Clippers, the way that they play, they don't ever really make a statement anytime that I've seen them play this year. And that's the same thing last year. They don't have that killer mentality for whatever reason. They think they can just turn things on, turn it off. You have Paul George that sometimes plays very well, and other times it's like he took the night off. Like the other night. There's no reason for that to happen. And I remember the Lakers mentality last year as a comparison. It's just like, there's no way we're going to lose back-to-back games. We lose one, that's it. It's end of losing streak. They just had that killer mentality to come out and just give it to them. This year with injuries and challenges is a little bit different. But the Clippers just don't seem to have that killer. They'll go and play a terrible team somewhere and they just get totaled out. It's like they take the day off and things like that. So they're very hard to factor in numbers and, because it's not just numbers all the time. You have to go off of experience as well and kind of get a feel for the situation. Like I said, they're coming off a loss. It's a playoff seeding possibility for them. I think the score is going to be a lot closer than it indicates on paper. The Nuggets should put up more points easily than the Clippers in a lot of scenarios, and they have been. Their team playing with more momentum right now, and I just think 6 points is going to be enough for the Nuggets to hang close.
So as we wrap, I appreciate that insight. As we wrap up here real quick, I do want to let everybody know, Gdog has a extensive history and data in terms of his results, and he does post that on Twitter, which is real respectable. So respect to you. I know it is your what website is it that you use to track your games?
Action Network, actually.
Yes. So you use Action Network. And so I believe, what is it, about 56, 57% overall, something like that, over hundreds of games is what.
Yeah. Thousands at this point.
It's extremely impressive. And so, as you guys know, I'm going to say it probably on every show, 55% is a professional. If you're hitting 56 to 60, 59%, I mean, you're one of the best in the world, top 1%. So, Gdog, I appreciate you jumping on the show. Best of luck tonight in, your many games that you're wagering. And we'll have you on next week. We'll tap in. We'll talk a little bit more and dive into more detail about some other games. But I appreciate you jumping on here and supporting the Pdub Nation and the Pdub podcast. And again, best of luck tonight and kill the Bucks.
You as well, man. Appreciate it. All right, boss.
All right, man. Thanks again. And until next time, it's your boy, Pdub, signing out.